Deputy President William Ruto had a tough time yesterday to answer questions at the Chatham House in the United Kingdom. And I followed up the session to the end. And of course, I captured some few observations in that whole session. In fact, one thing you need to credit that meeting is that it had both Azimio and UDA supporters. So it was not just a one-directional affair. And in part of answers that William Ruto was giving, he came out to say that they never shared government with Uhuru Kenyatta right in the middle from this first term. That caught my attention because in the 2013, the coalition between Uhuru and Ruto was Uhuru was the president, then Ruto was the deputy president. Uhuru was coming with TNA, Ruto had the URP. And of course, we will see that some members of URP got some government positions, not necessarily, some were in the cabinet, and some of them were absorbed in the House leadership. And when I listened to that, I found out that Ruto was lying flat-footed. First, I want you to listen to this part when he was talking about sharing government with Uhuru.
Yes, I have been deputy president for 9 years. I don't know which dockets were given to me because when President Uhuru Kenyatta formed government after the election, we've always had one president. We've never had two. And the responsibility over government has never been shared between Uhuru Kenyatta and myself. Our first term, we ran a coalition government, but I can tell you there was no single opportunity where my party held a PG outside President Uhuru's party. We had one parliamentary group, one government, one program, and it was all clear. There were no dockets that were given to me. I didn't appoint no minister anywhere. Everybody was appointed by the President of Kenya.
Secondly, now who is saying the truth? When Uhuru Kenyatta was attending the Jubilee NDC, Uhuru Kenyatta was saying that despite the fact that they shared government with William Ruto right in the middle, William Ruto was out to sabotage his government.
When you have somebody and people within you who you have shared and volunteered to work together and shared almost straight down the middle responsibilities, then you abscond your responsibility.
But since that happened, there's no way that William Ruto, while he's in the Kenyan territory, talked about that fact as a lie. That what the president is talking about was a total lie. Because if that was the case, he would have responded even before taking that flight. Immediately, Uhuru spoke at the NDC. But to make us just lay it bare and see how exactly, I want to look at how the cabinet was looking in the first, in 2013. And I want to give you the full list. Fred Matiang'i was in communication ICT. Henry K. Rotich was in the treasury. James Wainaina was in health. James Macharia. Ambassador Amina Mohammed was in foreign affairs. Aden Mohammed, industrialization. Anne Waiguru, devolution. Davis Chirchir was in energy and petroleum. And now, Davis Chirchir was appointee of William Ruto. Henry Rotich, William Ruto, is from his backyard. Phillips Kipkosgei, East African Affairs, that is third. Felix Kosgei, Agriculture, that is 4. Dr. Hassan Wario, Sports, Culture and Arts, that sports was under Ruto, that is 5. Their point, if you look at out of 16, you know, when it came to the cabinet, out of 16, 5 were directly from William Ruto. But then Uhuru Kenyatta also had his own appointments. But when it came to the cabinet, there's also the issue of the regional balance. That is why you will see Matiang'i was from Kisii, Omamo was from Luo. In fact, he was the only Luo there. You could see Kaimenyi was from Meru. We also had Najib Balala from Mombasa and Charity Ngilu that was from Kamba. So apart from these others that were picked because of the cabinet to have regional representation, William Ruto out of 16 appointed 4 people from the cabinet. We have 42 tribes. Then William Ruto party had 4 that were actually picked there. If you look at the docket that Charity Ngilu is having now being held by Farida Karunei. Now, Karunei rather. Now, apart from that, Aden Duale, who was the leader of majority in the National Assembly for both 2 terms before he was removed in the second term, was from URP. And yes, you people, you can name them one after the other. If you look at the way the leadership things have been done, he is actually saying a total lie that he was never part, that Uhuru Kenyatta never divided the government into 2 with him. But then that begs the question, why do you think he's actually pulling this? Because I think by the time we will be going to August, even before, by the time we will be in July, I can assure you that William Ruto shall have produced a power sharing deal, the secret document that they held with President Uhuru Kenyatta, the same way Kalonzo Musyoka is doing, the same way Kalonzo Musyoka did. By the time we'll be there, it will be leaked somewhere. It is just a matter of time. Guys, before I want us to look at the reasons why William Ruto is peddling this total lie that Uhuru Kenyatta never shared government with him, by the fact that he was a deputy president. Let's look at that. First, before we do that, kindly, if you're watching this video and you have not yet subscribed, kindly take a second and subscribe. Click the notification bell, and also, more importantly, give us your feedback on what you think about this notion that William Ruto never shared government. Now, straight, let me tell you my reason. Number 1, Ruto is avoiding the corruption question. If you see the list that I unveiled for you, in that first term is where the NYS scandal was blown. And after the NYS scandal was blown, we also saw another scandal at the Treasury, the Eurobond, the Narora and Kimwarer Dam. Now, these 3, remember NYS, there were also links of people who were there. They came out fast, hitting this, hitting that. Then it now came the giant in the house, the Aurora and Kimwarer. And the notion, the narrative that had been there is that some of the people that were appointed in cabinet with William Ruto, in the cabinet by William Ruto used these fellas to hatch corruption deals. Actually, Davis Chirchir, who is now being appointed as chief of staff at William Ruto's office, was ousted from that position due to a corruption scandal. Then he was replaced by Charles Kater. So he wants to first say that if there is anyone who was appointed in government and that he was appointed in cabinet and that person was involved in a corruption deal, he is free and his hands, he never associated with those people. And so it is the making of President Uhuru Kenyatta. That is why he is actually saying, because if you would have said, yes, I was part of it, the next question will be, so who and who did you appoint? Now, going that direction of naming Henry Rotich so XYZ, they'll then trickle the question down and say, okay, fine, this guy was here. Why were they removed? If that chain goes on, at some point he's going to be clipped that he was directly involved in the corruption scandals that were really marred the name that was there, that marred the ministerial dockets that he had. That is something that he was trying to avoid. Number two, he's trying to shift, he's trying to, let me say, rebrand the betrayal narrative. In the public domain, the betrayal game that they have been running with was that Uhuru Kenyatta was supposed to support him kumi yangu kumi yako. Then that kumi yangu kumi yako did not happen after handshake, and now Uhuru is supporting Raila Odinga. That is it. But then he also wants to say that the betrayal was that he never shared government, despite the fact that the agreement was that that would be an issue. That would be the agreement that, okay, they share this government, they share the next government. But then that begs the question this way. Could it also be true? Because if Uhuru was supposed to run for 10 years, then Ruto for 10 years. So Uhuru was to run his government for 10 years, then Ruto to run his government for 10 years. So that in the second term, the William Ruto's 10 years, Uhuru does not need any ministerial position. Did you see the way things are very amorphous? But then he also wants to take that betrayal to another level, because he has realized that the kumiyako is amorphous, it's impractical, it's not sellable. But then if you say that I was never part of the government, that means it's when I want to run a government. So that betrayal narrative is the same thing that has brought Wetangula. You know, Wetangula and Mudavadi are all conjoined together, and they're all running a narrative that they were betrayed by Raila. I don't even understand how. Raila has never been in a government, and I don't know. Wetangula is saying he was removed as leader of minority in a NASA deal. Okay, how about Mudavadi? I don't understand. Then, that is the same thing that Kalonzo Musyoka is also peddling on Raila. So Raila and Uhuru have been pushed to the corner as two fellas who are the masters of betrayals. And that is for real, that's what William Ruto is trying to push. It also shows that Jubilee coalition was just a coalition of convenience. They just came together, not because they wanted to do something. William Ruto is trying to say that they came together to uplift Kenyans, and it was never about who changing government, sharing government. Who can take that lie, honestly? Who can take that lie that he was never interested? If it was of convenience, then he wouldn't even have been the deputy president. Maybe he would have just picked someone else, because in fact he was going through the ICC cases. But then he wants her to believe that the government that they formed with Jubilee, with Uhuru Kenyatta, was never about him sharing power. That's a total lie. And if it is true, then remember there is a narrative that is normally under the carpet that he was bought. That he was bought. That could also be a narrative that is trying to vindicate by saying, yes, I was not given position. So if you are not given position, so what were you given? Or you did it for free? That's a question that it's also coming. Then number three, guys, Charles Kateri is vindicated. If what William Ruto is saying is true, then Charles Kateri is vindicated, because Charles Kateri mentioned that even without the handshake, these fellas would have still not be working together. According to him, there were still some underlying issues. And one of these underlying issues could be what he's mentioning, that maybe it was not that he was not given anything, because it is in public domain that the daughter is an ambassador somewhere. In fact, we have not checked an ambassadorial positions that was given. The daughter is in Poland. If he was not given government stakes, if that was not under him, then even the daughter wouldn't have got that. And of course, that have been captured in some nepotism narrative around the country. So just Kateri saying that they would have fell out could also mean that William Ruto, yes, they didn't share in the middle, but he got something below what he was expecting. Number three, I think William Ruto wanted to dissociate with Jubilee failures. This is something he's been doing. And while he was in the US, both US and UK, the rallying question by the Kenyans staying abroad is that despite the fact that they have been in government, but the diaspora nation seems to be poking holes on their government, on some of the failures. And, they mentioned about the high level of poverty. They mentioned about the anger. They mentioned about very many things and doings in the government. And so because William really wanted to appeal to that audience and to appeal to the diaspora nation, because, you know, those fellas are not in the country, and I don't believe, yes, the ones that are out, they might also be going through some difficulties, but not as Kenyans here. So for them, they're just being fed. So William Ruto wants to appeal to that audience by telling them that, look here, I am not part of what you feel has not been done well in the government. And that is a script he's been doing. But it is not sustainable. Because in the same place he's saying that he was part of a design to, electricity project, the construction of roads. But on the other hand, he's saying, I am not. I was just designated roles, which is the constitutional mandate. But then lastly, I also think that William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta might have promised William Ruto the ICC removal. I think that could also be there. That could also be there, that ICC was at stake, and somehow someone promised that I have the capital, I have the Western capital, I have the influence to make sure that I remove you from these cases. So let's come together, let's work on this, and let's this work out. So that could also be a perception. But then, guys, what's your understanding why William Ruto is totally lying about this issue of sharing government, while we all know that that is not the truth?